What do I actually need my accountant to do? And am I realistically going to pay for them to do it? But I think if you get the right accountant, they will save you the money 10 times over, and they'll probably make you the money 100 times over.
I mean, it's like saying that you shouldn't trust a fat personal trainer. You're going out, and that's what I like about what you do and the things that you've taught me, John. I mean, I did that Super Profits program with you. Not having the right accountant in your corner can prove absolutely fatal for small business owners. I have learned more with this guy over a 2-month period than I had in the previous 20 years of running my own businesses. Today on the podcast, I want to welcome John Holliday of Pocknell's Accountants. John, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you getting the time to come over and have a natter, mate.
Thank you for having us. That's a bit of an intro. Thank you.
Listen, genuinely, mate, I've done some work with you over the last few months that have absolutely blown my mind, really. But before we get into that, mate, John, I think I met you a few years ago through a mutual friend, and I've always followed you. I've always liked what you talk about. I've always liked how you put what can, listen, we'll call a spade a spade. It can be a pretty dry subject, accountancy, but you put it in a way that's interesting and easy to understand. So, John, how did you get here, mate? How did you end up where you're at right now? What's the story behind John Holliday?
Yeah, that's So I probably didn't do very well at school is probably the kickoff. So I guess that's how most stories start, isn't it? I didn't do very well at school. Probably
interrupted my education, school, John.
Pardon, sorry?
It interrupted my education, school.
Did it? That's probably what it did to me as well. It's probably transpires that I probably have got some form of ADHD or whatever it is, and that's probably why school didn't work for me technically. But obviously, so yeah, I left school, went to London, tried to get a job, I did do my A-levels, but basically I failed them all, so that wasn't really worth doing. I think I got an E in PE, and I might have got a B in PE actually, and an E in IT, but they didn't really put you very far in life, those two. So all the proper A-levels I didn't get a pass in or anything, so that was good. Went off to London, tried to become I wanted to be a stockbroker, to be honest. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a stockbroker or a trader. Quite liked all the films and all the Ferraris and the parts that they had that I was hoping I'd get. And no one wanted me, basically. They all said I didn't do very well at school, so that was the end of the stockbroking dream. And then I decided to apply for some accountancy jobs. I don't really know why. I just needed a job, and I wanted to get my mum off my back, really, who kept moaning at me to get a job. And then went to London again, wanting to work in London, couldn't get a job. Everyone just said you haven't got the right qualifications, and no one sort of took the chance on me. So I went for a job at a place called Seagrove and Pocknell. I turned up, and my boss said to me, "You're the only person who's applied, so there's a good chance you're going to get it." Asked me if I smoked, what football team I supported, and those were the two key questions, really. So I passed those two, and I was allowed in. So that was the start of it. And then I did a year there, and that didn't go so well, really. I did my exams. My grandma died at that point as well, which actually was quite a bad part. But that probably affected me more than anything, and actually probably bought me time, because I failed all the exams the first year. And I think I should really probably have been got rid of at that point, but I wasn't, luckily, because my grandma died, so that bought me another sitting. And my boss sat me down at the time, and he said to me, "You need to pass these exams, and I will give you a financial reward, pay rise, if you pass them." And that was kind of the incentive I needed to then learn to pass them. And then basically I started to take 4 or 5 exams at a time, and I worked on this theory that it didn't matter if I only passed 2 or 3 of them. I just needed to get as many done as quickly as possible, and started flying through the exams. So that was the route to being an accountant. It definitely wasn't the dream that I wanted to be an accountant, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was the start. And then when I qualified, my boss said to me, do you want to buy in? and I was quite flattered to be offered the opportunity, and I bought into the company, and it wasn't a very good company, to be honest. We had a few problems that I didn't realise at the time, but we had lots of problems. And I bought in, and I remember getting this pay rise, and I was earning whatever it was, you know, £1,000 more than what I was or whatever it was at the time. I can't remember, but I was earning significantly more than I was as an employee. And then it came to the end of the month, and they said, we haven't got the money to pay the wages, so the money you've taken out, you've got to put back, because that's what partners do. And I was like, this is rubbish. I'm actually earning less than what I was when I was employed. And that went on for a long time. So, yeah.
How old was you then?
I think 25. Yeah, 25, 26, something like that. And that went on for a while. And that was kind of my lesson, that that was a big learning curve for me, because I think I was very naive to accounts. I was very new, really. I was newly qualified. I shouldn't really have been given that opportunity. I think my boss, he saw some good things in me. I mean, I was quite a good salesperson at that point. And I think also, like, I always remember a meeting where we went to a client's before this event, and they said to me, they said to us both, they said, can you take on this contract? And my boss said, no, we don't know how to do it. And I said, oh, I know how to do it. And the client was like, oh, if he knows how to do it, we'll give him the contract. And I remember sitting in the car on the way home, and my boss was like, you lied, you don't know how to do it. And I was like, but we'll find out. Like, we'll go and learn, we'll go on a course, we'll work it out. It was a big contract. And they're actually still a client now, they are. And that was 15 years ago. And they're probably one of our bigger clients now. Definitely, decent sized client to us. So, and I think those sort of things, I think my boss probably admired them in me at that point. And I think I was probably too young and silly to understand. It's just a risk that you would take, if you know what I mean. I did truly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even now, I like learning new things. So for me, if there's an opportunity to learn something, I think, well, I want to learn it. I want to know it. I want to experience it. And quite often, and again, this was something I realized with Colin at the time, who was my boss. I said to him, like, we just pay consultants, they show us how to do it, and then we'll know how to do it next time. So we would sort of buy in consultants who, on areas we didn't know how to do, they'd show us it, we'd learn, you do the textbook learning on the side, but by learning from the consultant at the same time, it just sort of, it plugged a skill gap that we didn't have in our small practice. Like, we didn't have that skill gap that we needed. So yeah, that was that went on for a few years. And then Colin, the practice sort of changed a lot. We didn't advertise, which again, most accountants don't advertise. It's bonkers. Yeah, I don't know why. We buy accountancy firms now, and every time I go and see an accountant, they say to me proudly, we don't advertise, we do it all on word of mouth. And I literally sit there like, oh, what are you doing? Like, there's so many, we get word of mouth recommendations, but we also get loads that don't know who we are, because we're promoting our message, or we're promoting and I do genuinely believe we help those clients. So I want to promote the message. I want to help as many people as possible. And so through advertising, that helps. So yeah, we started advertising. I mean, that was quite small now compared to what we're doing nowadays, but I guess you will start somewhere, don't you, on this evolution. And basically, yeah, my business partner over time sort of said, look, well, I think there was a conversation at some point where I said, I can't keep going like this. You've got to let me run it. And he was of an age where he wanted to step back anyway. And he sort of said, in a nice way, he said, if you can do better, give it a go. I'm willing to support you. So, yeah, that's how we did it. And the practice sort of changed from there, which was good.
Do you know that you've sort of brought up some really interesting points? And I mean, I have no problem identifying with, being that guy who sort of says, yes, I can do this. I mean, I come into this industry in such a strange way. And for years, I just felt like a total fish out of water, because, I was coming up against these insolvency professionals who used to quote the Insolvency Act, and they wore the big suit and, the old boys club. And I just thought, I'd be in these meetings and think, how the bloody hell have I got here? these lot are going to find out about me at some stage. And you know, I'm still here all those years on, but it was just like an opportunity got presented to me. I thought, I'm going to have a go at this. And I've just continued to have a go at it and sort of got me to where I am today. But when you talk about sales, some people think sales is a dirty word. It's like, and what I've always said to myself is, if I'm confident that the solution that I have will help somebody, I've still got to convince them that we're the right firm to use. Because like in my industry, and it's the same as yours, there are some sharks out there. There are some people who talk a good game, but their delivery is atrocious. And my belief is, listen, if what I've got is good for the client, it's good for me, then I'm happy to really, you know, put the effort in to win that business. But professionals just don't seem to be. I remember once speaking to an insolvency practitioner's office, and I was sort of saying, it was in the early days where we were building partnerships, and they quite proudly said, "We do not buy work in, young man." And I just thought, why don't you buy work in? You know, it's like, it's really helped me get an edge because I'm willing to do this. You know, the content, the sales, the putting the information out there, and I suspect it's the same as you, John, because there's not many accountants that you really see anything of, you know, on social media, at conferences, that type of thing. Where did you get like your sales background from, your marketing background? Because you must have picked things up from somewhere.
I think getting beaten up at school, if I'm actually totally honest, I think that is where my mouth learned that you had to think quick, talk yourself out the situation quickly and try and make them like you as fast as possible as they were punching you in the nose. So I think that might have been where, probably is the true answer. But I mean, I remember when me and Colin were at the start, and it was dire. It was dire. Like, it was bad. We didn't have any money. And I remember going to a BNI meeting, and I remember sitting in the car park thinking, I'm well out of my depth here. Like, I'm going to be the worst business owner in there. We hadn't even got a business really. Like, why am I turning up here? And all I could see was I was going to walk in and it would be a room of Richard Bransons and Alan Sugars. And I'd be sitting there saying, please give me your business. I'm a complete imposter, but give me your business. And I hated it. And I literally remember sitting in the car park, and I remember saying to myself, I couldn't walk through the door. And I was like, I've got to walk through the door. Once I'm in there, I'll be all right, because my mouth will go quick. I know it will, but I've got to take these steps and get in there. And I got in there and I hated it, and it didn't really work for me, but like everything, I think you've got to challenge yourself. Even now, I've got to challenge myself. So I mean, I hate talking on stage. I hate it. I passionately hate talking on stage. Apparently I'm all right at it, but I hate it. And I've got to do a conference next month or whenever it is, and apparently there's 3,000 people there, and I'm talking on stage, and all my team are like, why'd you do it? And I'm like, because I think it's important that I do things I don't enjoy. Like, to me, if I don't do them, I'm going to become lazy, and then I'm not going to develop myself and grow myself, and I'm not going to promote my message. So for me, I'm a passionate believer of getting myself out of my comfort zone and doing it. And that's what sales were. They were putting myself out of my comfort zone. And like, I've had to do it. It's like all of us, isn't it? We've had to fight to keep our businesses going this long. I've had to fight to grow my business. I think I'm a pretty ruthless salesperson now in accountancy's sales, if I'm honest. And I say that in a nice way. I would never want to sell something that I didn't truly believe in. I always believe that you should advise people as if they're your mum or dad. That's how I do it. Because I think if I advise my mum or dad, I can sleep at night. Like, it's not. If I give the same advice I'd give to my mum or dad, then no one can blame me for the advice I've given, if you know what I mean. So that's how I sort of say to my team, that's how we have to advise. The biggest challenge for me in the sales isn't actually the sales side for myself. It's actually training the accountants to sell. So we've actually gone through a really strange process in our team. So obviously John learned how to sell. So obviously I read lots of books, went on courses. I think the hardest part sometimes is just saying to people, can you make a decision? Like, I'm happy with your decision, but can you please just make a decision? And we'll either go with it or we won't, but we need to get to that point. I think people hate the follow-up, which to me is one of the most important parts of a sale, the follow-up.
Absolutely.
So we've changed our model. So where it used to be that John used to sell, we've now changed it so that John's team are selling. Now that's hard. Training accountants to sell is hard because accountants do not like sales. Accountants don't like networking. So I've said to them, don't worry about networking. I'm going to get a marketing team in place that gets you all the leads coming through the door. But you then just have to sell while sitting at your desk. So you're at the comfort of your own desk. We haven't got any, the going out and standing up in front of all the people at BNI or whatever it is, any networking, event. You haven't got to do that horrible bit, but you have got to sell. When they ring you up, you have to sell them. And that's, sales sounds like a dirty word, but what I mean is you have to sell them the right service at the right price with the right, the right systems and the right thing for them. And my team are getting good at it. But what we've learned is they need more leads than I do. So to get the same level, they need more leads than I do. It's just a numbers game, and then it's just tweaking it and improving it so that they are. They're getting better. Their conversion rates are getting better. We track everything. Again, that was something I learned very early on. Track everything. We've never ever been adverse to paying for software. We spend 6 figures plus on software. We spend 6 figures plus on advertising as well. Accountants don't do that, and it's sad really because they should. There's so many opportunities out there if they do that.
I suppose it's better for you to buy them when they don't do it, and then you can implement that when you've bought them.
That is very true, but I do feel like they are sort of missing the point on a business effectively to me, because everyone always says to me, oh, you're so lucky you don't work in the business. I work hard, like everyone does. I work hard, I work lots of hours. My wife would say I work incredibly hard on the business. I'm never at home, but I think I just try and work on the key bits. And for me, sales, marketing are the key parts. Obviously some tax advice when it gets complicated, but for me, if you've got sales and marketing, you can always buy in that expensive consultant. You can always buy in that expensive employee. You can solve problems with money. You can't. If you haven't got the sales pipeline and the cash pipeline, you can't solve the problem. Yeah. So to me, it's the one thing that all business owners should work on is the sales, but not blindly. That can't be the only thing you've got to work on, but that is one of the parts that are very important.
I mean, this has gone down a route I didn't expect. But John, everything. No, mate, listen, because this is the interesting stuff. When people do these interviews, it's just a load of questions. It's like this interests me, and when I want to talk to somebody, I want to talk about the stuff that interests me because maybe that might interest somebody else. But I think I want to hammer home that, when it comes to sales in your industry and in mine, if the director makes the wrong decision, it's not like, if I'm going, my missus wants to go for a Chinese, I want to go for an Indian, and we go to the Chinese and it's not that good. Okay. Yeah. This is really serious stuff, because if you make the wrong decision with your accountant or you make the wrong decision with an insolvency company, the costs are high. Like literally it's, I see it all the time. And I'll get back on track a little bit with this question. So I'll get I'll get a lead-in director, got all sorts of problems, HMRC. These are the common problems at the moment. Behind with HMRC, they've taken expensive loans 2 years ago with all the usual suspects. You know who they are, I know who they are. And now the revenues have dropped, costs are still high, and they're taking insolvency advice. And I will ask the question, well, how were you making decisions in 2020 to warrant taking all this money that you've personally guaranteed? And I'd be like, what's your relationship with your accountant? And they'll be like, well, they won't say this. They'll go, well, they never give us the information we need. They never give us they never tell us if we're making money or not. And people don't understand the basics you're paying for an accountant. They're not there to do that, are they, John? I mean,
No.
What are the biggest mistakes that you see business owners make when it comes to accountancy and running the small business?
That's a really good question and a big question. What are the biggest mistakes? So I think a lot of people pay for a compliant solution to their accountant, and quite often they will want to pay the cheapest price possible for their accountant. I think that's a big mistake. I mean, I don't think we're expensive, but we're definitely not the cheapest either. I think we offer compliant packages, and then we offer packages where we will literally be your FD. And people need to know what the difference between those packages are, because to me, if we're offering a compliant package, we're doing your tax return, we're doing your account, you're giving us the figures. If we're offering you an FD package, then we're sitting there advising you strategically on how to take your business forward. Now, they're different packages, and they're going to come at a very different cost. And I think that when you're having those conversations like you've just said, people think that they're paying for the FD package where they're paying for literally someone to fill in their tax return for them. I also think there's accountants and there's accountants, and obviously there's qualified and unqualified accountants, which is tricky as well, because in the UK, the word accountant is not a protected word. Literally, you know, my dog could set up as an accountant tomorrow. Well, he probably couldn't, but he could. Well, he couldn't, but you know what I mean? Anyone could set up as an accountant. They set up their accountancy firm and trade as an accountant. They've got no experience. They've got no qualifications. They haven't done it. I mean, to me, I always want to go to people who are doing what I want to do. So, you know, if I want some advice on business coaching, I want someone who's running a really, really profitable business, turning over tens of millions. That's what I would want as a business coach. I wouldn't want a business coach who was not doing that. Yeah. So for me, as an accountancy firm, we typically attract entrepreneurs who are buying and selling companies, who are we do it because I do a lot of that, property as well. So again, I have a lot of properties. Again, that's one of the things where we seem to attract those type of people, which go more for an FD package rather than a compliant package, if that makes sense. So I think probably the key thing for anyone to do with an accountant is identify what you need in an accountant. That's got to be the first question. What do I actually need my accountant to do? And am I realistically going to pay for them to do it? But I think if you get the right accountant, they will save you the money 10 times over, and they'll probably make you the money 100 times over.
I mean, it's like the saying that you shouldn't trust a fat personal trainer. You know, no. you're going out, and that's what I like about you know what you do, and the things that you've taught me, John. I mean, I did that Super Profits program with you, and I have spent tens of thousands of pounds on various education over the years, and that course I did with you has stood me in good stead, because I'm really open with people. The way I used to see my business is my revenues are there, my costs are about there, we're doing sound, let's keep ploughing on. But coming off the back of working with you for that time, it's really allowed me to crystallize actually, well, what do I want out of my business? What's my break-even point? You know, I looked at it this year. So I know my corporation tax is going to be around X £1,000. I have that sat in an account today, like just a slush account. So when it comes in, it's going to get paid. And these are the things that I learned of you. So listen, I'm not blowing smoke up your arse, mate. It's been brilliant for me. And that's actually allowed me to help more people as well. Because it's one thing them going through an insolvency, but a lot of directors, they are going to go through some type of insolvency process and they will start again. And the information you have given me has allowed me to pass some of that stuff on to them. And I do recommend you to anybody who wants to hear about it, so they don't make the same mistakes. But I want to circle back about your message, because you said earlier, listen, we go out there and I share my message. What is your message, John?
What is my message? I think my message is that I genuinely want every business owner to succeed. And I do truly believe that business owners should make profit. I mean, I think in the UK, profit is kind of a bad word. I don't know. It's almost frowned upon to be successful.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be. Like, it's not in America. In America, they
love you, don't they? Entrepreneurs, founders, you're held up, aren't you?
I feel like I don't know. I just feel like we take a lot of risk in the UK. Like, you know, every person who's got their own business is taking a lot of risk, and yet you have a good day and you say, "Oh, I've made a lot of profit this month," and everyone says boo to you, and you think, "Well, that wasn't worth doing the other 11 months where I didn't make any profit and I took all the risk." So,
Yeah.
what is my message? I don't think profit's a dirty word. I think we should all plan for profits. So the super profit course that you did with us effectively was how I transformed my business. It's all the learnings that I had where I transformed my business from basically a company that didn't make any money. We had no money to pay any tax. It kept me up at night. It worried me. And I never wanted to go to that position again where I worried about money. Ironically, 2 years ago, we bought a police station and renovated it, and I really overspent on it. And I went back to worrying about money, and I was quite cross with myself that I'd put myself back in that position. But then again, I literally got my text because I do the super profits every year, but probably not to the extent that I did that year. So I sat back, got them back out, went through it all again, sorted it out, and now I'm back sleeping at night and happy again, which is good. And I can see the plan. And I think for me, what most business owners don't, like, literally I have meetings with clients and they go, "Oh, it's good, I made 100 grand profit this year," or whatever that figure is. And I say, "What did you project to make this year?" And they say, "Well, I don't know, but 100 grand's good." And I say, "Well, it's not good if you projected 1 million, is it? It's rubbish." Like, if a year ago we were going to say we're going to make £1 million this year and you've made 100 grand, why are we all high-fiving about it? It's a disaster. So to me, that's why super profits is important, because I believe it aligns you and you share it with your team. In fact, we're having our meeting next Friday where we're actually going to sit down with our team and show them what our plans are for this year, because our year starts in February because we're accountants and January's written off. We're going to show them what our plans are. We're going to tell them why we need that profit, why that needs to happen, what opportunities that gives them, what that brings for them, what that brings for us, and where that puts us as a company. And then we're going to all go out and try and do it. And to me, once you know what your number is, it's easy, because then you say to your marketing team, "We need this number of leads." You say to the sales team, "We need this number of conversions." You say to your account managers, "This is what we can spend on every part of our element of our company." And if all those bits are monitored and they all tie in, you make the profit you set out to make. It's easy.
It gave me a lot of comfort, really, and it was it got me interested again. You know, because like for years we've just been sort of, I'm not saying plodding along, because we've been doing great. We've got a great business here. We've grown. You know, people, like I say, from that person who thought he was a fraud bloody 8 years ago, just people come to us now for advice. We have accountants that speak to us. We're trusted, we're respected. But the fire, it was hard to explain. It was just like, you know, you come to work, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great, turning over, making money, blah, 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 blah. When I did that, it made me think about, where do I actually want to go with this? What is the end goal? You know, do we want to build a business that our kids can get involved with? Do we want to build a business that will eventually sell? And it was just, it turned the light on for me again. And I would recommend anybody, you know, get in touch with you for this. I mean, are you going to be doing additional super profits?
Yeah, we are. So we've actually recorded it all. We've put it all online. So we're going to be doing them going forward. So it's literally going to be start going out live soon.
If we can get this will probably go out sometime in February. If it's ready for that, John, we'd love to put it in the description as well. And actually love to send it out to every client speaking to.
On the grounds of Will did this to me the other day, I'll do it to you, and I'll give you the same discount code that Will put on the podcast the other day. So I'll get him to send that over as well. So we'll put that on there. I mean, one of the things I was going to say as well, for me, just going back a little bit, which I think is a really valuable number that we haven't spoken about, and I feel like everyone should know this number. And to me, the most powerful number that I ever worked out was, what's the lifetime value of my clients? Because I think once you've worked that out, advertising isn't scary. And I actually think the future isn't so scary once you work out what the lifetime value of your customer is. So just to quickly talk you through, to give you a rough idea of mine, and I won't use the proper numbers, but just to give you an idea of how I would work it out. So as an accountant, our average fee is probably, I don't know what it is, but I do know what it is, but I'm not going to say. So I'm going to say £2,000. Our average fee is £2,000. Let's say we're making 30% profit. So we're at, say, £800 profit on that, or whatever that is, 675 profit on that. If they're with us for 7 years, then effectively it's 7 times 675. So we're at £6,000 profit for that whole period. So for me, if I'm paying £50 to acquire a client to make £6,000 for them out of their lifetime with us, it's an absolute no-brainer. And then also, hopefully, at some point, the company will sell, and I'm going to get the multiplier on the EBITDA or the net profit as well. So again, for me, this is just a number that you have to have sitting there that you know, so you know when you're trying to acquire clients, how much they're costing to how much they're worth to you. If that makes sense.
And then I suppose you can work out, and the question is how much you're willing to spend to get that client in then, aren't you?
Yeah. So we need to then work out what our cost is to acquire a client, and then it is literally a sausage machine of paying to acquire to do that. So yeah, that's how we've worked it all, and we've grown fairly fast through that. So we've achieved over 20% growth every single year in the last 10 years. So compound's huge.
With regards to we're in 2025 now, what is your outlook for the economy, for businesses this coming year?
I think it's going to be tough. It's a short answer, isn't it? It's going to be tough. There's lots of opportunities. I went on a podcast the other day and I said there's lots of opportunities. I do genuinely believe there are lots of opportunities. So we're in the southeast of England. There's definitely property opportunities now. You're seeing properties come on the market at probably the same price as what they were a few years ago. So I think especially commercial property, I think is becoming a lot easier to get hold of if you want it. Well, office space anyway, warehousing is still hard, but office space is definitely becoming available at decent prices. I think that there's business opportunity from a buying and acquiring point of view. There's lots of people of an age where they want to get out now, and there's probably not the people coming through willing to take the risk to buy them out effectively. And I think that what we're doing at the moment with a lot of our clients is we're doing a lot of strategic deals where there's earn-outs or deferred consideration to buy these people out of their businesses. And again, that's something I like doing. I like trying to put the plan together to help acquire the business and move it forward. So yeah, I think there's lots of opportunities out there, but I do think if you are just going to, it depends what size you are. I think if you're a smaller business, it's probably not going to affect you too much, although I think the cost of things will go up. But I think if you're employing sort of 15 plus people, the cost is going to be starting to pinch a bit come April. I know we worked out ours in here and it was about 88,000. It's going to cost us to cover the NIC and the minimum wage increases because we've got a few apprentices and things in our team, which is a lot of money, that is, because that's straight off your bottom. That's your bottom line, isn't it? So, and I mean, that's one of the meetings we're having with our team at the minute is we're saying that I think we're on about 33.2% net profit at the minute. So we're saying that to work it back, we've got to, divide the 88,000 by the 33.2, which I've got no idea what that figure was, but I think it was about 260,000 that we had to make in new sales just to stay sane, which is a bit depressing really, because effectively as accountants you're selling time as money. So how do you sell that? It's going to either mean that our existing team are going to be they're going to be busier, or we're going to have to bring more people in, and then that number becomes bigger, doesn't it?
When things are tough, John, what does a business owner need to be doing?
I think they need to speak to people who have been there before, or people who are informed and can help them. I think they need to share it. I think they need to talk to their accountant if they've got an accountant that they trust and can value their opinion. And I guess if it gets really, really tough, they need to talk to people like you, really, and have that frank conversation of, I mean, we typically try and introduce our clients fairly early in the process if it's going to go that way, because quite often you'll introduce them and in some precious, or you would say, it doesn't need to happen this way. Like, let's get these plans in place and we can avoid it, or let's plan for it. Because I think the worst thing is that a company gets forced into insolvency and the director's got a massive director's loan account that they didn't even know they had, because the accountants never explained to them what the risks of that director's loan account are and leaving it overdrawn. And then they're stuck, aren't they? They've got all these PG'd loans that they weren't aware of, PG'd overdrafts they weren't aware of. And then all of a sudden it's the amount of times we've had it where people have said, I've got to go and tell my wife or my husband that I've got this debt that no one knew about. And then it affects the relationship or it affects the home life as well. And again, I think the best thing you could do is have these conversations early. I mean, I reckon we probably have 2 or 3 of those conversations a month. We've got a big client base. I reckon we've got, 5,000 clients. We probably have 2 or 3 of those conversations a month. Typically, they don't end up into liquidation because it's solved. The problem's solved.
Yeah, they just... We get 600 probably leads a month through the door. There's nowhere near that amount of insolvencies that happen. Sometimes it's just a case of we need to do this, this, and this. You need to speak to them. You need to perhaps restructure this. And I think it's just the fear of actually speaking to somebody like me. And they think, oh, God, if I call him, then, it's the Grim Reaper. But do you know, it all boils down to knowing your numbers, doesn't it, John? If you're getting accurate information on a monthly basis on that profit and loss, you hopefully will see a problem a lot sooner than before you're getting rushed into intensive care. And speak to, have a good relationship with your accountant. If you do need to take insolvency advice, please don't think that it's going to be right. That's it. It's over for the business. Sometimes you just need some advisory to get through the choppy waters.
And 100%. And I think the other thing is quite often make a plan. And the reality, once you've got the plan, you operate the plan. And it might be, let's see if we can get through the next 18 months and we'll plan to pay off the director's loan account through those 18 months by trading, and we won't take any money out of business or whatever it is. But once you've got that plan, effectively, then you can start moving forward with it. Where I think the worst thing is when someone winds you up without the plan. That's where it all goes wrong. I mean, and I think the other thing to bear in mind in all of this, it is only money. Like, I know that I say that flippantly, but it is only money. Like, you can earn it again. Like, money is...
It's not worth it. Listen, some people make the ultimate sacrifice when the business is going down, and they take their own lives. They do things that ultimately, mate. If you've got your health, if you've got your children, if you've got a roof over your head, you're in a very, very fortunate position. It's
so we have where that happened, and that's awful. Like, that should never, ever happen. It's a limited liability company. I appreciate you feel that you've let down your team. You feel that you've let down your loved ones. You feel all of this. But the reality is that most people who own companies are entrepreneurial. They'll do it again, and they'll probably do it better. The reality is the second time around, they'll do it better because they know all the shortcuts. They know all the tricks to get it, all that 10 years of learning to get there to lose it all. It's going to take you 12 months the next time round. So, and I think this is what we try and tell people, like, obviously, no one wants to go through that. I get that. But sometimes you have to go through that. It's not scary. You can do it again. And I think it's just putting a plan in place from an account side, putting a plan in place from a liquidation or insolvency side, and working to the plan. And if everyone's on the same page, it's fairly easy.
John, I'm mindful that we have limited time today, but I have absolutely loved the conversation. It went in a way that I definitely didn't expect to be talking to an accountant about sales and marketing. But you know what? That's the stuff that business owners need to be doing right now. And I think I'll finish on this. If you've got a big enough pipeline and you're decent at what you do, any obstacle that can be overcome. But listen, before we wrap up, mate, what is the one piece of advice you would give to a business owner out there in January 2025?
It would be to make a plan, make a financial plan, share it with your team. Because again, I think business owners are quite protective of what they don't want to show their team their profit. They don't want to show the team the sales. And I feel like you can show certain members of your team certain parts of your profit and loss or your forecasts. And I think it's important to do that, because being a business owner is a lonely place. And I think once you've got a few key members of the team around there helping you and supporting you, it's not as lonely. That's what I would probably say.
Listen, if people want to find more about you, where can they find you?
So obviously on our website, which is Pocknells, so Pocknells, because I'm conscious my accent's weird. People might not understand it. So Pocknells, or we're on YouTube, TikTok, all of that. Our marketing team are all over the place. So we've got clients throughout the UK. We've got them throughout the country, well, the world actually, to be honest. So yeah.
John, once again, thanks for your time today, mate, and I wish you all the best. You end the podcast here, buddy.
Thank you.